What's up, everyone? I'm Jason,
I'm Jared.
I'm John.
and we are JCubed. We are three best friends that decided to make a podcast. This is our 7th episode, so congrats to us, y'all. We've actually been we've actually been relatively consistent, I think. But yeah, this week is a special week. Us being here at JCubed are very timely. And up to date with all of our pop culture, media, and all of that. And today we are talking about the little film, y'all might have heard of this, called The Batman. I am looking forward to talking about this. Me and John, I think, have been bugging Jared to see this for a long time now. John was actually bugging me to get it seen a while back. So we are now finally talking about The Batman. Can't wait. But before we jump into all of that goodness, Jared, what you been up to, my man?
That's a great question. I've just been up to life, just been working and grinding away. Kind of same old, same old. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I finally bought as I was telling you all in the last episode, I finally bought the last issue of The Last Ronin that came out on April 27th. So
Okay.
I'm gonna probably start again at the beginning and just read the whole thing through in its entirety. But that was a great comic line, so I'm definitely excited to see how it ends. As for watching, been Saturday, I told my wife, I was like, hey, I'd love to watch a movie tonight, just check out something. And she's like, well, you said you wanted to watch Batman. Why don't we watch that? And I'm like, yes. So, which leads us into this episode. So I'm
Finally,
like,
yes.
thank you. All right. And we we watched that. We really enjoyed it. I'm totally excited to get into this episode with you all. And then just kind of in our downtime, I heard a lot about this show because I watched Breaking Bad. I used to watch The Walking Dead, and I'd always see the previews for it, but we finally started Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I knew it. Okay.
Yeah, we were only a couple days in, and we just right before I came upstairs, we started season 4. I'm loving that show, honestly. I think it's fantastic. I love the characters in that one. I honestly like it better than Breaking Bad.
Really?
I do. I like the characters all around a lot more in this, but it's a great show. We've been getting into that in the evenings, and that's kind of it for me. Yeah.
Dang, nice.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things about Better Call Saul. My dad talks about it. He's like, have you been watching? And I think I myself only watched the first couple episodes, and then I just kind of dropped off. But yeah, it's something I want to get back into, and just haven't.
I really like it.
time.
It's a good show. Just a nice show to watch in the evenings with my wife. We both really enjoy it.
Nice. John?
Man, I don't want to say I fell off of Better Call Saul. I just, again, life gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't make it past season 1, but a coworker has been like, oh yeah, the finale's coming up. It's a rumor that so-and-so is going to make a cameo. No spoilers. If that event has already passed, then hey, what happened? Whatever. But as for what you've been up to, I've been learning the ins and outs of home ownership. It's very...
Yes.
Welcome to the club.
Congratulations. It's a stressful process.
It's a scary thing for sure.
I've earned my gray hairs. But yeah, it's a very frustrating thing, but also kind of like it's a weird kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But to de-stress, I've been when I'm not packing or dealing with phone calls and everything, to de-stress, I keep rewatching Visions. I know we're not talking about
talking
Star
about the S word.
But I keep rewatching Visions. Like I get submerged in everything, like the different animations they have on there. It's very captivating.
Yeah,
I find it very stress relieving to watch it all. And at the same time, I multitask, trying to work on the videos I'm going to upload to my own site. So
nice.
A lot of work, a little bit of work, and some R&R here and there.
Okay.
It's important.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Trying to find that flow state.
Nice. Let's see. For myself, what have I been up to since our last podcast? Really not a whole lot has changed. actually, for this episode, I decided to, because we semi-planned this last week a little bit. So what I ended up doing, or last podcast afterwards or whatever, I don't remember. But this was semi on the docket. So I started watching Tokyo Vice on HBO Max. And it is about an American journalist who is hired for a newspaper in Japan, and it kind of devolves into him trying to, weed out the Yakuza. It is really solid. It is a fantastic series. It has Ansel Elgort in it from Baby Driver, West Side Story, I think Fault in Our Stars, or I think it's Fault in Our Stars, and then the Maze Runner series, if I'm not mistaken. But it is, and then Ken Watanabe is in it, and both of them are solid. The entire, cast is solid. It is a fantastic noir type show, and it really kind of got me into the detective mindset. One criticism I had is the season finale. Essentially, it just kind of ends abruptly. So I assume they're waiting, they're going into a multi-season type of deal. But yeah, I binged that pretty much from Saturday night till yesterday, essentially. And it was a fantastic show. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do if they make another season. But other than that, not much. My buddy lent me Resident Evil Village 8 or Resident Evil Village. So I'm going to attempt to try and stream that sometime this week. And then otherwise, yeah, not much here, just kind of hanging out and just seeing, just relaxing, really.
So you taking a break from Elden Ring for a little bit?
A little bit. I'm still playing, but I'm only playing like an hour or so every few days. Not going like right after work, having dinner, and then jumping into Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But I am 93 hours into that game now.
There you go. I think you were up around 13 hours from the last call, so there you go.
So yeah, Jared, if you ever need help with it, just hit me up. Hit me up on Xbox. I got you.
Except I've been playing PC. Is it cross-console?
Oh, you've been playing on PC? Oh, dang. Bummer. Actually, I have no
I
idea.
I think I might be PC Master Race now, except for
Really?
a few things. Yeah.
I need...
As much money as I dropped on that dang thing.
Use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really need to... Oh, another thing. I think I've mentioned this to you all a few different times, but I've been looking about going back to school for film. I'm in the thick of that. I got to get my transcripts from UTSA sent over, and then I need to get that first class signed up for. I'm debating if I want to do summer or fall, but that's also what I've been thinking about and kind of doing on my own time. That also brings up, I need a PC myself. As I mentioned in the last episode, mine is super old. And before this call, I was trying to show Jared a dumb gnome meme or something. And having Discord show my screen, having OBS showing, what we're currently, or what y'all will eventually see, crashed my tab. So... that's not a lot of computing power, I think. So I need a new computer. So I've been looking at that as well, kind of figure out where I want to buy one, if I want to make one, and all that fun stuff.
We'll talk offline. I went down a rabbit hole while on PC stuff. We'll talk offline about it.
Cool.
An easy rabbit hole. Not that I'm extending the conversation for PCs that should go into a rabbit hole.
I mean, I think
there's many ways you can go about this PC.
I think I know where I want to get my PC. It's just if I want to spend that money.
No, I understand that. The one I bought a couple months ago, I mean, I dropped a pretty penny, but we're looking at, it had a terabyte, but I added some more hard drive space.
Ooh.
I upped it from 16 to 32 gigs of RAM, but the biggest thing was it has the 3080 graphics card, which is
golly, those things.
Actually, it's the 3080 Super, which is one of the I think they're starting to be a little bit more back in stock, but it was to a point where you couldn't find any of the 3000 series. We bought pre-built, both Ashley and I. But yeah, we went down a rabbit hole for a while trying to really figure out which one we wanted, the specs and everything. And that's what led me to, both of you all know, as much as I've played video games all my life, I'd always been a console guy, mainly Xbox, but a little PlayStation here and there. But after buying this just monster of a rig, I'm like,
yeah, no, there's no point in going to a console if you have something that that good. You're getting better frames with the PC over a console anyway, and then you can tweak so much stuff on PCs to run it just how you want it. I totally understand that.
We're no longer talking about Batman.
Yeah, no, we're talking about Batman here. Computers. But no, that's super cool. But yeah, that is another thing. Just because with my classes, I'll have Adobe, and the Adobe I have it's old, and my computer's old, and I think it's gonna burn on me one of these days. So yeah. Anywho, the reason why we are on the podcast today.
Why are we here tonight?
Is to talk about the next installment in the greatest detective known to man, Batman. Before we get started, wanted to throw some facts y'all's way about the movie itself. The Batman grossed over $672.8 million at the box office. It is the longest Batman film to be made, and it is the second longest superhero movie to come out, only being beaten by Endgame. Endgame was 181 minutes, and The Batman is 175 minutes. So there's really only a 6-minute gap between the two films. Y'all might know this already, but the Riddler was also partially based on the Zodiac Killer. And we'll kind of, I can see the ideology in the movie, and we'll probably talk about that at some point. And then lastly, this is directed, or a couple more things. This is directed by one of my rising movie directors, Matt Reeves. He's done some of my favorite sci-fi films. Cloverfield. He did a really good horror film, Let the Right One In, the American remake. The Swedish film is also fantastic. I would recommend seeing both of those if you can. And then he did the Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes. Both fantastic films. Both, I think Dawn is probably my favorite out of that trilogy, just for that opening scene in the woods with all the apes themselves. But this is his next big movie that he made, and honestly, I think he knocked it out of the park with it. I do have some questions that I want to kind of, sprinkle in throughout this conversation, but before we kind of really jump into that, Jared, since this is most fresh in your mind, this will kind of lead into my first question. Robert Pattinson's version of the Batman, what did you think of that? We've had 5, from what, going strictly off the movies, we've had 5 iterations of Batman himself. We've had Val Kilmer, we've had Michael Keaton, we've had George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and this would be the 6th iteration of Batman as a character. Batman Bruce Wayne as a character. Mm-hmm. What did you all think of Robert Pattinson's version of the Batman? And with something to keep in mind, part of the inspiration for this film as well was a few different comics from the Batman, anthology. Batman Ego, Batman Year One, and The Long Halloween. 2 of those I've read. I don't know what Batman Ego is. I haven't read
Ego is, no.
But I have read and I own both Year One and Long Halloween. But what is, again, I'm starting with Jared here, but what did you think of Robert Pattinson's version of the Dark Knight?
I thought his performance was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly can find no faults in his performance as Batman.
Okay.
A few of my dislikes about the movie, and I wouldn't even call it a dislike, and I don't know if this is something you're going to ask later.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily love the whole emo, broody Bruce Wayne look.
Okay.
Although I did see some comic panels online to where, depending on storylines, comic lines, that was a comic accurate look. I didn't love it, the look, but on the flip side of that, taking the look out of it, I wish that we would have seen more of a representation of Bruce Wayne. This was a highly Batman movie.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see Bruce Wayne as much. And I understand it's an origin story for him. In the course of this movie, he said it early on to Alfred, he doesn't see what kind of difference he can make as Bruce Wayne. For him, Batman is the only way to make a difference, so I understand the significance and us seeing Batman in 90% of the film and not a lot of Bruce Wayne. But aside from that, like if we're just talking about Robert Pattinson's performance, I thought it was spectacular. I think he did a phenomenal job, and I'm very excited to see what he does in the future with this.
Nice. Okay. All right. Big Man John. It's been the longest since you've seen the movie, I am sure. So what are your, from what you can remember, if it's been, I guess it's been over 6 months? I don't remember when the movie came out.
No. It's only been like 2 months, right?
No.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, no. Where's my time gone? What the hell? No way. Are you serious? Wait.
Jason's going to edit this one out because it just came to HBO Max a week ago today, I believe.
No.
And it comes to HBO Max. The Warner Brothers movies or is it Warner Brothers or Time Warner? Those movies come to HBO Max 45 days after the theatrical release. So at this point, it's been 52 days since it released.
Like, I still remember driving up to the parking lot, and I was like, I don't think it was that long ago.
Really?
Jason's gonna edit this out.
I'm trying to find when this came out in theaters. It's giving me all HBO Max stuff. No way. Has it really only been maybe 2 months?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh my gosh. That's
funny.
Oh my gosh. It feels like this has been out way longer than that. Okay, well, John.
March 4th, 2022.
There you go. So, that's funny.
Damn.
So what do you remember from 6 months ago, John?
I mean, I still feel like it's fresh in my head.
Shoot. No, I don't think that's a good sign for me.
It's all downhill from here.
Start doing Sudoku and stuff.
Damn.
But yeah, I still feel like it's still fresh in my head, and I want to say, like, given the direction that they went, 2 quotes that he gave into the movie, and should we say spoilers alert? I mean, people know that we're gonna be talking about the Batman film, right?
At this point, it's on HBO.
We're talking about the Batman. It's out on HBO Max. If you're still watching and you haven't seen it, that was at your discretion. No,
you know what you're doing. You know why you're here.
Yeah, you know what you're getting into.
Welcome to JCub.
Or no holds barred over here.
We give you spoiler tags halfway through the episode.
Spoiler. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to... Okay, I remember now. So 2 things that he says in the movie, like in the very beginning. Mm-hmm. He says, like, okay, he's been in this for about 2 years now. The nights are getting to him. You know, you can see throughout the whole movie, like, the dude just doesn't barely sleep. This is his pursuit to do this. It's on his own time, but it is affecting him. And then also he says, like, hey, I can't be in 2 places at once, which sets up like a huge thing for the movie. And for the direction that I took and the fatigue that he's going through and everything that he's putting his body through, I really love how he portrayed all of that. And when he doesn't have the mask on, again, the emo, whatever we're calling it, look, like, I get it. I know we probably could have done it up a little bit better. Maybe his hair could have been combed a bit of a different way. But again, like the way that they made him out to be in this struggle, in this current time that he's doing this, I really like how he portrayed it all. Thumbs up, man. I really love the movie. It was great.
Yes, he did. He knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. No, and I don't think I had that criticism when I first saw the Batman. I saw criticism that, Robert Pattinson, he's got that, the one screenshot of him with the eye makeup on and then kind of with the black hair, emo down, I guess is the best way to put it. I didn't necessarily see that as anything that, in my head, in my personal canon, wouldn't be something, or would be something that Batman himself would not have gone through at some point. And again, part of this is, I feel like this movie takes place with enough time between his family or his parents' death that he's still coping with it the best that he can, and it's still somewhat freshish in his mind. Well, maybe not fresh. I think maybe 10 years or so since his parents' death to where we see him now. Who knows what it could be, but I still feel like it is still a lot fresher than his mind than we've seen in other iterations of Batman. And I think he's still trying to find that that line between Batman and Bruce Wayne. I think at the moment he's still kind of, they're still sort of like this when they should be two separate, personalities. And I think he's still trying to figure that out. That's what I kind of took out of that. But yeah, I think Pattinson did a fantastic job as a Batman that is still finding his footing. He's still learning the ropes. He's still figuring out what his Batman wants to be. And I think it really sets the tone well for the movie is the Batman opening monologue. Having the different scenes of Gotham with the different ne'er-do-wells kind of doing different things across the town. And just having the bat signal up in the sky and just having Batman narrating, I should have wrote down the quote that was actually said, but as soon as I started hearing that, I was like, okay, this is the most Batman I've seen Batman in a long time. So this is really cool. Like that immediately just stood out for me. And I really think, again, going back to my original, thought that he's still trying to differentiate between Batman and Bruce Wayne. So, but yeah, I can see where the criticism comes in because the Batmans we have had beforehand have not been this Bruce Wayne. They've been all very socialites. They've all been very charismatic Bruce Waynes. And I think this is the first time we're seeing a Bruce Wayne in a more timid fashion. So, yeah.
You get a tease of it on the Christopher Nolan versions.
A little bit, yeah.
A tease of it, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I like how much they elaborated on this early stages of Bruce Wayne trying to balance the two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's entirely balanced. It just seems that, and if you read the comics, a lot of these superheroes and their
alternate egos,
identities, and all that. Yeah. A lot of them are Clark Kent is who he is, truly, but then he's also Superman. Barry Allen is who he is, and then he's Flash. But if you read a lot of the comics, Batman, he's not Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. A lot of these other superheroes, they put on them like their superhero side of them is them putting on a mask and becoming someone else. But for Batman is who he is, and Bruce Wayne is almost his mask, you know? He's not Bruce Wayne first. He's Batman first. That is who he is at his core, but in a lot of the comics, there is a separation there.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, it seems that he just doesn't hold a lot of value in who Bruce Wayne is or what Bruce Wayne can do yet.
Yeah.
I would like to see him get there, because I truly believe that Batman and Bruce Wayne, I truly believe that Bruce Wayne is one of the few human non-superhero forms that has as much of an impact as his superhero side does. Clark Kent does a little bit, but a lot of these other superheroes, it is their superhero persona is what does almost everything as far as the huge amount of good. But I do think that Bruce Wayne really does hold a lot of value outside of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see eventually, I do feel like at this movie in this point in time, he doesn't feel like Bruce Wayne has any value. The only thing that can be of any good is Batman. And I would like to see in the future him figure out how much value Bruce Wayne as a separate entity holds as well.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I totally agree with that as well. I think that is a good kind of breakdown of Bruce Wayne. Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
for Bruce Wayne, yeah. I think that a lot of people who have really read a lot of the comics would agree, and I think he's even admitted this before. Like I said, for a lot of other superheroes, when they put on the superhero is the mask,
mm-hmm.
but for Batman, Bruce Wayne is his mask. He is Batman. That is who he is as a person, at his core and in his soul. And Bruce Wayne is his alter ego, or however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm. All right, nice. So with that kind of brings us to the next question that I had written down, and I'm going to go out of order here a little bit. So with Batman, you know, all the iterations of Batman we've had, minus maybe the Tim Burton ones, have all been relatively serious, you know, in tone type of films. This one included. I think this has been probably the darkest version of Batman that I've seen in terms of, you know, characterizations on just every, you know, character in it, just the weight of what the Riddler was trying to do, you know, his victims, all that. I feel like this is
it's heavy.
It was a pretty, you know, dark Batman film. But thinking back at it, you know, the first time that Batman was probably shown on screen was the Adam West Batman. The more campy, the more colorful, the very super cheesy Batman that kind of, you know, brought, I guess, did that make Adam West, you know, a pretty big star from that series? I didn't look that up. I should have. I might look that up afterwards. But with that being said, you know, are y'all getting tired of the Batman that we've seen the last, 7-8 years? Do you want to see a Batman that's a little bit more colorful, a little bit more cheesy, or do you all want to stick with the Batmans that are darker in tone, that are serious in tone, even though the comics themselves, yes, there are some very, you know, serious comics within Batman itself. I mean, what is The Killing Joke?
The Killing Joke was the first one that came to mind for me.
The Killing Joke, that's a pretty heavy one. I mean, even Death in the Family, you know, there are some very heavy, you know, storylines out there. But at the same time, we have characters like, is it Clayface?
Clayface is one, yeah.
We have Clayface as a character. We have Poison Ivy that, you know, has control over plants. We have very comic book characters.
Polka Dot Man. Who was awesome, by the way.
He's very good in the Suicide Squad. I hope they should make an HBO Max series with the Polka Dot Man. I would love to see that, how that story unfolded. But with that, do you all want Batman to always be so brooding, so dark? Do you want to see something that's more lighthearted, I guess is the best way to put it? Do you want something more akin to the 80s Batman, or do you want these to be that serious Batman? You want, like the recent Joker film, a standalone Joker film. What are your thoughts on that? Because I like having, this movie was fantastic. I'm super excited to see if they move forward with additional films in this list. But at the same time, it's like, give me a Batman that's, I can't even
not brooding.
Yeah, I can't really describe it because we've never had something like that. I don't want cheesy because that is going to fail, but I also don't want a dude to have his head blown off because a bomb is strapped around his neck for 6 hours and he didn't want to answer a stupid riddle, Like,
you didn't say the magic word.
No, we're not netted. No, Ned. No.
No, Ned.
But seriously, like, that is a question, at the end of the day, Batman is a comic book. Comic books have, grounded things from real world, but at the same time, they're more fantastical. So is that something you all would like to see in a Batman film? Maybe not necessarily a Robert Pattinson Batman film, and this also leads to another question, another iteration of Batman. But if that's the case, if we go another iteration of another Batman, is that getting to a point where, okay, Batman's been done over and over again? Let's do something else. Let's do something like the Suicide Squad. Let's get some characters we haven't seen fully in the big screen, like Robin, Nightwing, Deathstroke, anything like that, something along that. But yeah, what are y'all thoughts on that?
I think, first off, that is a fantastic question. I do, and that is not something that I had thought about before, but as you were saying that, I was really, the wheels were going. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. First off, to answer your question as a whole, do I want a more maybe lighthearted, not as dark
campy.
And broody?
I think campy is
Batman.
A good word. Yeah.
Do I want the different style? Not necessarily, because as I was saying, Batman is who he is first.
Mm-hmm.
And that is who Batman is. You look at some of these other comic book characters, some of these other superheroes. The Flash, in a lot of his iterations, whether you're looking at Barry Allen or Bart Allen or Wally West or whoever, the Flash is a very lighthearted character, but that's because whichever version you look at, they're not the Flash first. They are Barry or Bart or Wally, and they're taking those aspects of that personality of who they are as a person, and that transfers over as to who they are as a superhero. Batman is Batman first.
Mm-hmm.
That's who he is at his deepest level, and Batman is a dark and broody type of character. So I am fine with that portrayal.
Okay.
I don't want to say that I don't want to see more iterations, but I would love for DC to finally find something that works and fits and have some continuity with,
mm-hmm.
like Marvel has had with Iron Man and Captain America and these characters that actually
don't change the character every few months.
Yeah. On that note, even though I feel like Batman is this kind of just darker character, a darker personality, I do feel that where we could start to see a sense of him lightening up is when he starts to bring in these Robins, whether it's whether it's Dick or Jason or Tim, because at that point, he's adopting these orphans and he's bringing them in, and I could see that aspect, training and starting to care for something that isn't him. I can see how that could kind of break down a little bit of his internal armor and make him not as dark.
Mm-hmm.
But he's so young. I don't see how you do that with Robert Pattinson's Batman. I don't see how you bring those characters in unless it is another iteration, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think I covered all of what you were asking. I don't have a problem with the dark broodiness. I think that is who Batman is as a character. I do think the opportunity for us to see not as much of that is to start seeing him caring for someone else in these Robin characters, because I don't think that Batman has ever cared for anybody. I think he has a level of love for Superman, Clark Kent in the comics. I think that is probably what you would call his closest friend.
Mm-hmm.
But
brother.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think he's ever cared for anyone the way he cares for any of the Robins. And, only one of them is his biological son. But I think he thinks of all of them in that sense. He thinks all of them as his own son, as family. And even then, he's a complete asshole to them in the comics sometimes. But I think that is the only way we would see them start to lighten up that character, is if you start bringing in some of those other characters. I just don't see how you do that with Robert Pattinson's variation, because he is such a young Batman.
John's thinking.
No, he makes up a good point. And you look at let's start over to answer your first question. Adam West, there's only ever going to be one Adam West.
Only ever one.
Yeah, when you take the character that he brought, I don't know who can top that. You can turn the animation for that, sure. But in real life, I mean, that's going to be hard to find somebody on that kind of level. Sure, you could, I guess, is mature the humor the way I want to say it, or like age the humor a little bit so it's not so zany and wacky.
I don't know.
You could bring that.
I want a remake of Batman carrying a giant bomb over his head on a pier, just running, weaving in and out of people.
To get rid of a bomb. I have that movie actually, and you look at the trend. You start off zany, and then you go into that Tim Burton dark-esque
kind of neo-noir type wacky.
Yeah, with the debut of Prince's album incorporated into the soundtrack.
We're going up the roller coaster.
Yeah, 90s, and you get a little bit darker, Christopher Nolan, and the Frank Miller inspired Batman, and now we're here. And I wonder if if DC and Warner Brothers are just gonna hit on the animation aspect to get that zaniness and that laugh, like the Lego movies, or
I forgot about the Lego movies. Those the Lego
I love
Batman.
the Lego movies.
That is a good one, yeah.
I mean, they're really good. That and what I really liked that he was in, that it didn't pan around just Batman, but it was the Suicide Squad Attack on Arkham, or maybe it was like the Card of Life or the other one that came out. But it's a Suicide Squad starring in that, and Batman is like a side character in there, and it's a little more lighthearted because again it doesn't revolve around him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just wondering if they would rather like leave that humor to the animated universe instead. But like Jared had mentioned, bringing in the Robins, and we get teased on the Robins in these movies, and I keep wondering when is he going to come back out. And I wonder, that might be the only way that you get him that lighthearted, or is DC just wondering, okay, what other hero can we bring into this universe that we can make this many movies about, so that we can lay off Batman for a while, so we don't have to keep revamping this character.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some of us are pro Snyder and some of us aren't. I don't really know who isn't, but I know I'm pro Snyder. But Snyder took a different take on Aquaman. People seem to like Jason Momoa. Maybe they were trying to be like, okay, maybe this is our opportunity to like see if we can make more movies about these other characters and find the other golden goose or gooses in this universe to make more movies about. So, to answer your question, I like the zaniness, but I just don't know if they're just going to stick to that in the animated universe. Would I like a remake in the Adam West-esque style type? I would watch it for sure. I don't know if it would make it to the big screen, but I can't predict the future. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think if you look at, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think if you look at some of the comics, some of Batman's best humor is these just witty one-liners.
That's true too.
But it's when he's in the midst of others, and I'm not just talking about like an Alfred or even a Nightwing Robin. I'm talking about a more Justice League type thing. He has some really witty one-liners, and that's where his humor kind of comes from. But once again, that's a completely different universe than where they're in right now.
Yeah,
so, that's the Justice League universe. Yeah,
exactly. If you're wanting to bring that in, you're looking at a Justice League universe. The only other thing I can think about while John was talking, if you wanted a more lighthearted Batman type character, once again, completely different iteration. But if you did a Batman Beyond Terry McGinnis type of character, because that was a very much more lighthearted Batman than Bruce Wayne ever was.
Yeah, no kidding.
Which I'd be all in on a Batman Beyond if they. I loved that show. If they ever did a live adaptation
so long
of
since
that,
I've seen that.
I thought that was a great character.
I hope they go into that series, or I hope they go make that movie one day. That'd be epic.
But he was like a young kind of punk, and he just kind of fell into this Batman role. But there was a lot more of the dry wittiness just because he was so young. He wasn't necessarily struck by the humor that he wasn't struck by the trauma that Bruce Wayne was. So there was just a little bit more humor to his character.
Yeah, and the reason why I thought of that is because, writing out these questions throughout the day, the first thing I thought of when thinking of that question was the Marvel. Again, Marvel and DC are two separate entities. There should be no cross streams whatsoever. But it got me thinking about it because Marvel, again, also a comic franchise based off fantastic comics as well. But the Marvel movies are witty in nature, but they also have those very, not all the time, but most Marvel's movies, or I guess some of the later ones, have some very somber moments in them as well. The end of Endgame, that hit everyone like a brick. Seeing Iron Man snap at the end there, having Peter say, "I'm scared," while Iron Man is watching him fade away, having...
I don't feel so good.
Yeah, having Black Widow fall off a cliff and say, Hawkeye's, what's his, Cliff?
Cliff Barton.
Cliff. While Cliff watches that, those are just some of the moments that have actual weight to Marvel, and they're very impactful moments, but at the same time, they're still surrounded by fantastic, fun, really great stuff. Even, have y'all seen No Way Home yet? Everyone has here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Spoilers for No Way Home real quick. When Peter watches Aunt May pass in her arms, that was
too soon.
Dude, that was such a hard, and then
one.
with great power comes great responsibility. That line being delivered that way, again, Marvel movie. Right after that, there is a scene that makes everyone laugh. But that moment was such a heartfelt moment and a very sad moment that is like, Batman could, Batman's also a comic series. I've seen other DC stuff where there's lightheartedness, sort of. DC's been kind of weird with that. I don't feel like DC does lighthearted in their mainstream stuff. John, you mentioned most of that is in their animated stuff. I've never seen any of their animated stuff. The only thing I've seen animated was the Lego Batman, which is a fantastic Batman movie. But yeah, it's just like, I would love to be able to see a version of Batman that takes that type of route where it's impactful, but it's not 100% brooding all the time. Again, I don't think it would work with Robert Pattinson or anyone if they continue with this version of Batman, but I would love to see that. And again, it might have to be, another Lego movie or an animated like Spider-Verse type movie. Ooh, that would be pretty cool.
Ooh.
That would be really cool, actually. But anyway,
The Flash. All these,
Oh man,
Flashpoint with all these Batmans.
yeah, in the
Oh, and
style
then
of.
Constantine gets in. He brings in the dark universe. Oh, I'm off trail off.
But yeah, I really would like to see a Batman, some modern take on something like that down the road. Regardless, not regardless, whether that be another Batman, movie, which again, at a certain point, I'm gonna have to say, okay, I'm done with Batman. I'm already kind of getting there with Marvel because Marvel has been going on over 10 plus years, right?
A long time. Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like DC also hasn't figured out where they want to go with their comic book movies as well. So I'm torn. I would love to see something like that. There's no way it can be done with the current Batman we have, but at the same time, they would have to do a brand new franchise or a brand new animated film, something like that, and I just don't know if they want to go that route.
Well, I'll give you a recommendation. If you want to start fresh, start with the Flashpoint Paradox, which is literally on my top 5 movies, even though it's animated. Top 5
that
movies.
That one's fantastic.
It's
the
amazing.
Version is that, and that may be their best animated one. Yes.
It's
go
epic.
ahead. Yes.
But it starts there, and I think that I don't remember the year it came out, but it came out a while ago. But the universe starts there, and it doesn't end until you get to Apocalypse, Dark War, or Apocalypse. I think it's Apocalypse. Justice League, Apocalypse War, I think, is the last movie in the series.
Mm-hmm.
You go from one Flashpoint to the next, and in between that, it's all continuity. It's all within the storyline. You get some side shoots from the Batman series as well, like Damian's introduced. The Court of Owls are in there as well. But yeah, if you want a new start on that, I recommend that in the animated series. It's pretty good. It'll keep you busy for a while.
Right.
I'm kind of thinking about what Jason said, and once again, I understand what he's saying, but I just keep thinking about how lighthearted that's not who Batman is. There's not humor to that.
Mm-hmm.
Him as the character. You reference all of these Marvel characters, but having these humorous attitudes, witty one-liners, whatever, that's not out of character for them. I mean, in the comics, Peter Parker is one of the sassiest, most smart-ass superheroes there probably is in both universes, right? And then if you look at DC, the Flash, Barry Allen is just a clown. He is a class clown. You have Oliver Queen, who's kind of a smartass. That's not who Batman is, and I just don't. He doesn't exhibit those personality traits to where, if they did try to make something like that, I just don't know if it would.
It would hit with people.
It would even feel right, because it's like, this isn't who he is.
I get that, and I totally understand. But yeah, just something that was interesting that I noticed, with Christian Bale and moving forward there. So just wanted to bring it up to y'all. But I like that conversation. I like where this is going. Speaking of which,
that was a great question.
You mentioned this earlier that, theoretically, if we were to make something new, it would have to be with other characters around Batman. We've been talking a lot about Robert Pattinson's Batman, but I want to talk about, and this isn't a question that I have written down, but every actor that was in this movie did such a fantastic job in their roles. Zoe Kravitz was an amazing Catwoman. Paul Dano was a fantastic Riddler. Freaking Colin Farrell was the best Penguin I have seen in a very long time.
He killed it hard,
he
man.
killed
he
that so
good.
Well, so good. He was such a fantastic character. And then, I'm blanking on his name. Jeffrey Wright was such. I think this is my favorite version of Jeffrey Commissioner. Was he commissioner in this
He's
film?
Lieutenant
right now.
Gordon. But I thought that and I know I'm gonna let you continue with this. But coming out of that movie, if you would have asked, what is your biggest compliment on this movie? It was the casting. Everybody did a fantastic job. Everybody killed their role. I loved Lieutenant Gordon in this movie. This may be the best iteration I have seen of Gordon in the movies. Yes.
Yes, and really the only other thing I was gonna actually, I was pretty much done with that. My question is like, what did y'all
Alfred as well.
think?
That was a great Alfred.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts on
it.
Alfred
I like
myself, but yeah, again, all the supporting characters, all the supporting actors in this movie did such a fantastic job, and I guess this isn't really a question, but I just want to hear. Jared has already shared some of his thoughts on Jeffrey Wright, but with everyone, was there a standout character that you liked? Besides who we were supposed to like with Robert Pattinson as Batman.
So as I said, they knocked it out of the park with the casting. Phenomenal job by everybody. I loved Gordon. I loved Lieutenant Gordon in this movie. Colin Farrell, fantastic performance, an incredibly attractive human being, and they just made him so just grotesque, but they killed it. I loved Paul Dano. Earlier, how I said I wish I would have seen more Bruce Wayne. I wish I would have seen more Paul Dano. One of my favorite scenes was when he wasn't in the Riddler garb, when he was in Arkham Prison and they were having that conversation and actually seeing him. That might have been my favorite scene in the whole movie. He killed it. He was so eccentric and he did such a great job, and I wish I would have seen more of that Paul Dano in the film, and I would love to see more of that Riddler, not in this dark whatever outfit that was with the voiceover and all that, because when he was out of the costume, he absolutely slayed that scene. It was so good. That's my take.
Colin Farrell did such a good job, man. Like, I couldn't get over his portrayal. Even in his freak out scenes after that big long chase, they got him up against the
we'll talk about
rope.
the chase scene here in a few. Don't worry.
Good, but yeah, man. It was a totally different guy. I'm like, oh my god, is this seriously Colin Farrell? It's so freaking epic. I mean, like y'all said, I don't think there was I don't think anybody was really ill casted. They hit the nail on the head. Everything was freaking cool, man. I can't even get it all into words, honestly. I wish I saw more Joker. I did see the...
We'll talk about that as well. I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I saw the deleted clip, but I'll wait until your question over there. Also, it's just... Man, I can't wait to see who they're going to put in next. I have a feeling... you probably already wrote a question on Bane. Maybe you wrote a question on Bane's appearance or presence.
No. Actually, that brings me to a thought, because I know I texted you after I saw the movie. That will be something towards the end as well. But that brings up another question about who could potentially be in other films if they continue with this Batman series.
Yeah, and I have a theory about that too, but I'll wait until you bring it up. But yeah, man, I mean, it was epic casting. What else can I say? I can't say anything else because I keep rambling.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
No, yeah, everyone did such a fantastic job in this film. I mean, Zoe Kravitz played an outstanding Catwoman, still trying to but still, early stages of her being, she was a master thief, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think her and Jeffrey Wright, I think, were my favorite supporting characters in this movie. Zoe Kravitz just played a wonderful Catwoman. I forget her actually, who her character is. Yes, Selena Kyle. I think she did an amazing job as Selena, as well as when she was the persona of Catwoman. You could tell there was that, that Batman Catwoman flirtiness going on fairly early on as well, which I think is pretty prevalent in the comics. Again, I've never read many Catwoman Batman storyline comic wise, but I think they did a fantastic job. And Jeffrey Wright is, again, a phenomenal actor, and he is, like Jared said, my favorite version of in this case, Lieutenant Gordon that we have seen on the big screen. Everything about him just fit. Everything felt natural as a Gordon. I think, Gary Oldman's Gordon from the Nolan verse was good, but it didn't feel like Batman and that Gordon had the type of chemistry that I think was portrayed in this one here. For example, and this kind of comes into Batman's witty one-liner when he says, when he gets punched in the face as he's escaping the prison. And then when they go back and say, I thought you said you're going to pull your punch. He said, I did pull my punch. Or that line there. I think that was, I think that kind of plays into what Jared said earlier. He has those witty one-liners, and I think that really worked well there. But I think that showed, and at this point, we can assume that Batman and Gordon had already been, working with each other because when we first see him is with Batman and Gordon is when Gordon is, telling all of his police buddies, hey, he's just, he's here as well. I think it already shows that level of trust. And I think their relationship in this was just spot on to what I imagined from reading the comics was what that they had in the comics as well. And then Paul Dano is also an amazing actor. And just seeing him as the Riddler, I wish I would have seen more Paul Dano's character instead of, more so the Riddler. But he, that first opening scene was just them spying on that, was it a political pundit?
Is that running for mayor? Or
is it a mayor? It was the current mayor, I think.
Yeah. That, just seeing a super creepy Paul Dano Riddler thing, this kind of goes into, I can see that ideology or that symbolism. Is it symbolism or no? I'm thinking of
symbolicism.
The symbology.
I was thinking of Boondock Saints for a second there.
I was about to say, this is Boondock Saints right here, man. I got this one. It's the symbology.
But the symbolism, having that Riddler with the weird kind of lines going through it, very much was something similar to what the Zodiac Killer had. And I think that is a really, really cool take on the Riddler. It's not that weird. Granted, Jim Carrey's Riddler was cheesy in its own right and, worked in its own right. But I really, really dug where Paul Dano took the Riddler for this movie as well. And then Colin Farrell, the Penguin. Come on, dude. He was such a good... He wasn't Danny DeVito. That's the only other time I've seen the Penguin in a movie was Danny DeVito's Penguin. And that was just a weird, creepy looking dude. This guy looked... I don't know. It was just fantastic. And then John Turturro as Falcone. That was interesting. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, man.
That was pretty cool little surprise, I guess. But yeah, overall, I think casting this movie was fantastic. But man, y'all, that chase scene, the chase scene. The car,
I want that car.
The one criticism, and this is my criticism. We'll talk about what y'all think about actually, no, I'll save my criticism for my turn. Jared, what did you think of that scene itself?
Oh man, the scene was just so exciting because you kind of keep seeing little teases of the Batmobile in the cave, but it's all covered up, and then there's this kind of shootout going, and then you just see this Batmobile starting up, and everybody's like, what's going on? Who's this guy? Yeah, and then it just starts up, and they just take off, and Colin Farrell did a great job in that scene, and then just finally when he felt like he had all the 18-wheelers all over the place exploding and everything, and he's all, I lost him, and then Batman hits the ramp, and then he just flies and lands. It just that, but I just think that was such an exciting just entrance of the Batmobile, which isn't a character, but just it almost felt like this big character entrance because it was teased, and then it's just here.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that scene. It was great.
Yeah, Mr. Gonzalez.
I always wait for the cue. I'm sorry.
There is no cue, my dude. Just go. No, I'm just joking.
Different. different notes I want to hit on this chase. For one, it was awesome. I mean, talk about a hot rod. It was so cool because usually like the persona is like, okay, it's just this big long limo that sticks to the alleyways and maybe a bridge once or twice. You actually get to see like first you see it in the workshop. Okay, it's on stilts or whatever. You know, he's working on it. Maybe we won't see it this film.
It's sprinkled. It's sprinkled here and there.
Yeah, kind of like the Robin suit in the Batfleck movies. It's just he's there. But yeah, I mean, you finally get to see it like rev up and charge up. And you know, I grew up around race cars. We go to the racetracks every summer with my dad, my brother, mom, you know, cousins, whoever wanted to join. So, you know, it got my heart pumping, and I was like, oh man, this is great. But another cool thing about, I mean, another way that the Batmobile hit, you know, you see it have all this power, all this force. It can go through like a mountain of trucks. But like I had said earlier about the quotes, at the beginning of the movie, he says, I can't be at two places at once. Later on in the film, you get a sense of like just, okay, it's fast, but it's not fast enough. Back when the Riddler, like, it says, like, I forgot the exact segue. Jared, it's probably more fresh in your head, but the Riddler's in jail, and I think he says, like, you're not as smart as I thought you were, and that there's already, like, a bomb that's supposed to go off at Wayne Manor, and it hits Alfred. Now, he's trying to get there in time, and he's, like, yelling at the girl, like, come on, come on. He's, like, calling the phone, no one's picking up, and then finally, I don't know what her name was, but she answers the phone.
The maid, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, something terrible's about to happen. Look, it's already too late. And
he's like, I've been trying to call you. It was like an hour ago almost or something at that point. Like it had already, in the movie, it looks like a matter of seconds. Like he just missed it until she answers. And she's like, it's already happened. I've been trying to reach you.
Yeah, man. And that hit me another way towards the Batmobile. Like, oh, yeah, again, it's fast, but it wasn't fast enough. Like that was another turn it hit for me. Like, oh, man. The directing here, God, they're getting me. They're getting me.
So, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
But that and the motorcycle, I want as well. I know it's not the Batmobile, but I want everything on two wheels. Shame on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say we forgot to talk about Alfred. I'll say, and then we can go around real quick. I wasn't too keen on this Alfred. I think Michael Caine's Alfred was the better Alfred in my mind. Maybe just because we didn't see a whole lot of Alfred in this one. We only got a few lines, from him every now and then. But I wasn't super... I think... oh, shoot. Who's the actor? Whoever Gollum plays. Whoever, God, what's his name? Oh, it's going to bug me now. Anyway, I think he was fine. It's not my favorite version of Alfred. I think Michael Caine is top number one when it comes to the mentor that Batman needs. And I don't think I've seen enough of this Alfred to feel like that is happening so far.
Andy Serkis.
Yes, there you go. Andy Serkis. Oh, Jared, you biting your tongue?
No,
Okay.
no, not at all. There's been so many great variations of Alfred. I don't think there's been a bad variation of Alfred that I've seen. Even and I didn't watch the show in its entirety, but even the Gotham TV show, I watched like the first 2 seasons back when, and I thought even that Alfred was a good one. I don't think there's been a bad Alfred. I liked this one. I really did. I think if you read the comics, there's Alfreds that almost push the spectrum of blind loyalty to Bruce, and then there's ones like this one who
are more
I love you like you're
confrontational.
my son, but I'm not afraid to tell you what you need to hear because probably no one else will.
Yeah.
And I really like seeing that side of it. I liked seeing him kind of, putting his foot down and not necessarily putting up with Bruce's shit. And I think that's in this time of Bruce's journey where he still hasn't figured out, as we talked earlier, who Batman is, who's Bruce Wayne is, where the separation is. And I think that there's this sense of just he's not afraid to be blunt and tell it how it is at this point in time. And I really liked seeing that variation of Alfred in this one.
I get that.
I did like the sternness, and you get a hint on his military background too.
Mm-hmm.
And just like Jared said, like, Bruce's parents are gone, but Alfred's taken the mantle of being the voice that he needs to hear.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what he wants to hear, but he's going to tell him what he needs to hear. And I really liked how he got to like chip in on the mystery solving as well. The riddle, the first,
I
think all the
forgot
riddles
about
that he
that.
got.
No, yeah, Alfred was a big part of helping Bruce figure that stuff out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fresh pair of eyes. He's got experience in that, and he was able to help out. I thought that was really cool. I hope we get to see a little bit more of him in the coming films, if there are films to come.
I thought that they had greenlit at least a sequel.
I thought I saw that, but I wasn't sure if I was like delusional.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that they did. I don't know how much more than that, obviously, but I believe there's going to be at least one more. Okay. I'm hoping for many more, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The Batman universe is so vast, as you all know. There's a lot that they could do, which I'm sure we might get into later.
Yeah, but yeah, hoping to see more of Alfred, in the coming films. But I don't know if I have any dislikes towards the character this time. I want to watch it again if I have any dislikes.
I might have to see it again because it's been 6 months since I've seen it last, so who knows? I might be thinking that it's wrong. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something about him didn't grab me as much as the Michael Caine Alfred did. But again, that just might be because I'm used to the more nurturing Michael Caine version over the more, this is the more, not stern, but the more upfront with Batman Alfred that was, sort of hinted at in this one.
Yeah, and I definitely think that Alfred, it feels like he's always done what is best for Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely believe that where Bruce was at this point in this journey, because as John had said earlier, he was only in this Batman role for pushing 2 years. He didn't need that nurturing side because he was still figuring it out. Nurturing wasn't going to do anything for it yet. I believe, like, to his just character development as who he is as Batman. So I definitely, I think that he needed the sternness and the harshness and someone to tell him what's what, because probably no one else would, because no one else knows. And I definitely think that was the right type of attitude and variation of Alfred for Batman in this point in his time.
And I will say, if we're talking about favorite Alfreds, I had to Google his name, but his name is Michael Gough. He was like the longest Alfred out there.
Oh.
Yeah, from the Tim Burton. He had like the bald head, the white hair, the glasses.
It's been so long since I've seen those. I don't know.
He's the one you grow up with, kind of like in the James Bond films. Like, he was there for so long, and you grow up with him, you just grow to love that character. For me, my favorite.
Okay, cool. Totally derailed. So the chasing for myself. The first criticism I had, I wish they didn't show that scene, the scene where a penguin is saying, "I got him, I got you." And then you see the Batmobile fly out from the fire. I wish they didn't show that in the trailer because that was the coolest shot. And then the shot right after that, after he gets T-boned, and then you see the Batmobile wheel spin and then just the car flipping. That was such a cool shot I've never seen before.
That's why I don't like to watch trailers anymore, man. They give away so much in them.
I think in this case that they shouldn't have used that scene. Maybe the scene of him slowly walking. That's another thing I want to point out. The other criticism I had was the fact that Batman was revving his engine so long. I feel like everyone could have, what's he doing? Let me just hop into my car.
He's got to make sure the fuel injection, the carburetor is working properly.
I know it wasn't this long. It felt like it was a good 30 seconds of them staring at, screen left, Batmobile. Staring, screen left, Batmobile. That was back and forward, one too many cuts, I think. But the actual the chasing itself, that felt very believable. And, them weaving in and out of traffic. The fact that the only reason why he was able to jump that pile of 18-wheelers is because an 18-wheeler that had a ramp on it hit another 18-wheeler and the ramp fell down right before he, rocketed off.
Dukes of Hazzard it.
That was such a cool scene. I think that was like the big. Oh no, there was one really other good action scene towards the end, and that was the one my dad liked the most, the stadium scene. But I think that, and that will kind of go into the Bane question that I texted you after I saw the movie. That scene was such a cool scene. It was such a cool way to show, the Batmobile. The Batmobile, I feel like, is its own character in the other films, like the Nolan verse. I mean, he has so many different Bat-type vehicles that are really well introduced in the films, like in The Dark Knight. The Bat Cycle, whatever it's called, how it just comes out of whatever.
A tumbler.
Yeah, the tumbler. How that was just introduced, like it was super cool. I think this was a really cool introduction to this universe's Batmobile and Bat tech in general, like the contact video recorder, the kind of the low
Those
tech,
were badass. Loved them.
the low tech, high tech looking, technology had in the Batcave as well. It was such a cool aesthetic to them, and I think this Bat tech is by far the coolest stuff I've seen, even though it's not super techy like the Nolan verse stuff was. Oh,
I thought the tech for the contacts were so
that was such a cool idea. Like I would have never thought to use a contact lens as, your recorder, and then having him just scan that first crime scene, having, him look at a shoe print on the floor, and then having the crime scene photographers realize, oh, he's looking at something, let me take a picture of this as well. Just the subtle things that were done with this Batman in those kind of ways was such a fantastic, way to introduce all that stuff. And I'm really excited to see how that plays into the future movies.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing I really loved about that, like the title, The World's Greatest Detective. Ra's al Ghul, he addresses him as detective usually. Finally, you get this in the movie where he's doing detective things.
Exactly. It's not It's not Bale Batman spying on people using technology to just hack people's phones. It is Batman doing what Batman is known for, being the cunning mastermind, not mastermind, but master, intellect to piece stuff together. And that is another thing that I loved about this. This movie was Batman in that sense, that he was doing detective work. He wasn't just busting down doors. He wasn't blowing up buildings.
Yeah, the detective of the namesake of Detective Comics.
Mm-hmm.
It was great to have that.
So yeah, no, all of that was super cool. That does lead me to, I know we're going on a little long here, sorry, but I think this is another one of those really good conversations we're having. Mm-hmm. We're coming to an end. Really, I'll just have a few more questions and then we'll probably ramble. But I loved this version of Gotham. I think this is the best interpretation of Gotham I have seen since the Tim Burton really neon, grungy looking Gotham from the 1980s film. This is such a cool looking city. It didn't look like Chicago. It was its own like unique look and aesthetic to it that immediately as I saw, again, going through that opening monologue with Batman, like this is the Gotham that I've wanted for a while. I think this was a perfect looking city for Gotham. I think the director and everyone a part of this who, set designed all of this did a fantastic job.
Agreed. I got a little bit of Blade Runner vibes too. Maybe we'll get some of that in like the Beyond film as well. But yeah, I agree with you. The architecture of the entire city, Gotham, felt it.
No, I definitely agree with that, and I think that this Gotham really showed the Gotham that you kind of see in the comics, to where the rich are rich, but the poor it's the slums. And you really do see just a great representation of that.
Yeah.
It is this whole, there's some really nice areas of this town, but there are just some absolutely cruddy parts of this city, and it's not just a small like that. There's a large part of this city that it is just the slums where crime just rules all.
I think the only other interpretation of Gotham that it was similar to that was from the standalone Joker film that came out, a couple years ago? I think that has been another... these two have been really good representations of what, in my mind, Gotham looks like after reading one of the comics.
I hadn't really thought about that while watching the movie, but now that you bring that up, I definitely do agree with that.
Then with that, we're coming... In my head, I've been kind of, talking about these questions as I've been remembering the movie from 6 months ago, how it's gone in my head. So we're coming towards the end here of the movie in my head. That last fight scene in the stadium, after everything has been flooded, after he wasn't able to catch or figure out that last riddle from the Riddler, and everything explodes, and for whatever reason, they bring everyone into the stadium, even though it goes underground. I guess because it's the largest area that can house most of the city, maybe. But man, that fight scene was such a cool way to show that Batman. I mean, of course, we had other fight scenes. The opening fight scene with them and the Joker-esque gang, the tunnel fight scene with him getting shot at, which was beautifully shot, and that was all done practically, no special effects. That was all muzzle flashes and him just popping into frame or into view from that light. But that last fight scene really showed Batman becoming the Batman that I think he was trying to be at the beginning of the movie.
I don't want to take the lead on this one. I want to see what y'all's thoughts on this one.
Okay. I'll go first. So I really did enjoy that ending fight scene. I think the entire thing with Riddler kind of, is hitting pretty close to what's kind of going on in real world stuff, like with shootings and all that hoo-ha. So that was kind of a close to home type of, oh wow, this is not very comic-y. This is stuff that could potentially happen now, stuff like that. So that was there was some gravitas to that. But seeing Batman jump in from the rafters and just start wailing on people, seeing him get shotgunned, seeing him use a smoke bomb, and having the Riddler cronies looking around, and then having that really high-pitched scream, and then just like the silhouette of Batman come out and go back into the fog was, I think, really cool. And I think it's showing that Batman is using his arsenal to all of his ability at this point. I don't know if he was... I might take that back because I feel like he's been using his arsenal the entire time in this movie. But him getting shot in the chest with a shotgun and then pumping himself full of that green liquid, I do think that is alluding to a Bane maybe in the next one. I think it has to, because that was such a quick little thing, but it was such a prevalent, scene, because it pumps him full of adrenaline. So I think Bane is going to be in this next one. I hope Bane is in this next one, because that was a pretty, hey, look, we have this, and this is what Batman is used for this scene. This is also kind of the main thing that makes Bane the Bane that we know. So yeah, that was also, again, my dad's favorite action, fight scene in the movie. So I enjoyed that for what it was. I don't feel like Batman had to jump onto the hanging panel and the electric wire to save the people down below. I think that was kind of a weird call on my part, but it still worked, and it did get that cool shot of him holding the flare while the camera's looking down at just the heads walking through the water.
How about the aesthetics, man? They had to shoot that.
Yeah, that's true.
That way. It was really choreographed. You really get a sense of like the mass hysteria and panic that people were going through. What was it, year one, where the Riddler like sets bombs off across the around Gotham Harbor and like floods the entire town? It turns into like a not an oasis, but the wildlife takes over, so on and so forth. Like, I got the hints from that where they incorporated that into the film. And again, that Venom scene, I don't know if it'll come into the next movie, maybe the third, if there's a third. Hopefully there is. I have my own theories on like how Bane's gonna come in, but yeah, again, it was very well shot. I was always on the edge of my seat watching the whole thing. I'm like, oh wow, watch out. I love that scene where he's getting pelted by the shotgun. I mean, you really get a sense of like the fear behind it. Like, oh my God, did he is this the end of the Pattinson Batman series already? But yeah, I got into it. I felt the chills. I have a yearning for more. I don't have anything bad to say about it.
I'm gonna have to watch all of these Batmans this weekend. Like, I have the Dark Knight and then the Batman again. But Jared, you didn't want to go first on this one.
I just wanted to hear y'all's thoughts. I thought the fight scene was great. I think this is the first instance in the entire film where I think Batman he's always doing everything for the greater good, but I think this is a scene where he really puts the greater good before anything else, because he's stepping into this environment with how many shooters to where this is the first time in the movie it looks like, hey, he might not come out of this one alive. So I think that really tells a lot about just, in this film, just the I don't know if it's character growth, but him putting in this situation where it kind of looks like, hey, I don't know if Batman can win this one. I love where he shot like his grappling hook through that one guy's leg, right?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
He pulled it. Like, that was like one of the first guys he took down. I thought the whole scene was great. I really did enjoy it. Even, him, jumping, cutting the electrical
sacrificing
wire.
himself.
It's just another example of he's willing to sacrifice himself to save all these people. And I really did like that, because I think that definitely speaks a lot about his growth and who he is in that moment. The Venom scene. That was my first thought as well. And that is what I think it is. I have seen three big thoughts on what that could be on the internet. The first one, that they're just talking about it's just a shot of adrenaline. I don't agree with that. That's what some people are saying.
It was green, though.
It can't be that simple.
The second, people are saying that it's Venom. I agree with that because it gives him this temporary sense of strength, but it gives him the rage that you've seen in Bane. I realistically believe in that moment right there, he would have killed that guy if Selina and Gordon wouldn't have.
Yeah, I think so too.
Out of it. Because the Venom, it does bring on the strength, but it just brings that rage with it, right? That whole steroid rage, whatever. That is also, I too believe that's what it is. I saw a theory today.
Ooh.
I think it is very interesting. I do not think that is. I don't think it's right, but I still think it's a very interesting thought. There is a theory going around that this is the waters from a Lazarus Pit, which is, if you know from the comics, the Lazarus Pit brings you back from the dead. It's a sense of rejuvenation. We don't know the training in this movie. We don't know where Batman got his training. In the Christian Bale universe, obviously, he was trained by Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul is the one, Ra's al Ghul, however you want to pronounce it. He's the one who really had the knowledge of the Lazarus pits, and he was brought back from death multiple times through those. If Robert Pattinson's Batman was trained by Al Ghul, there is a small possibility that he would have knowledge of Lazarus pits, and maybe he does have this small little bit on hand in a life or death situation. I still think it is Venom just because of the quick surge of strength and rage, but I think that last one is a very, very interesting point.
I've never read
It's a combo.
The Raj Al Ghul kind of comics, so I have no idea what any of that is. So that's
the Lazarus Pit, and it's mostly in the Batman comics. They actually really touched on this in the Arrow show, the Green Arrow show. But it's a pit of unknown origin that it has regenerative properties and it can bring you back from the dead.
Life juice.
It is, but it also has an effect on your soul and all of this.
Okay. So, no, what if it's a combo? One thing too. I think it was back in our Court of Owls episode. I had said, hey, keep an eye out for that well, because in that well, if I remember correctly, there is like particulate in that water that has like the incorporated chemicals from the Lazarus Pit.
For how they were keeping Talon alive?
For Talon and some of the owls as well. And also, if you've read some of the more recent comics with the Joker, you see like you could have swore he died when he fell to the bottom of a pit. You could have, like, how did he come back and get his face back after he had carved it off and put it back on his face? It was because he had been exposed when he fell to the bottom of this big gigantic pit. He found Lazarus Pit water and he was able to like take it, keep him from dying, and his face grew back. And now we have the Joker with his face not stable to his face anymore, but he grew it back. Oh man, what if it is Lazarus?
Right? It feels like a very big reach, but at the same time, the possibilities,
the implications
that it could
be there.
Yeah, the implications and possibilities that they could bring with it. It's like you don't want to discredit because it's like, oh, but what if?
Yeah, and I'm reaching. I reach, but you know, what if, man?
I have a yardstick. It doesn't matter. It could. No, that would be interesting. I would like to see. I think if they stick with Matt Reeves as the director, I feel like he will pull from some really good sources. I mean, Batman Year One, fantastic. Batman The Long Halloween, amazing. Batman Ego, I assume pretty good. So I think he can pull from some really unique sources for a next film if they decide to move forward. I mean, it made over $500 million, so there's no way they cannot at least make another, or they haven't greenlit at least another one.
Mm-hmm.
But I know we were going long, y'all. I initially had 2 more questions. I can bring it down to just 1, if y'all want. What time is it? It is almost 9. So
I want to know what you got.
Yeah, I need to know.
Yeah, bring it on.
All right. So the first to last question. What did y'all think of this Joker?
Jared, you or me?
I mean, I haven't seen enough of him yet, and I know that there was a deleted scene, so I'm curious to see what John has to say. I actually didn't see that.
I didn't.
I didn't see the deleted scene. The persona's there, but he there's not that just kookiness enough yet. But it's just a teaser that it could be there. We've got to see more of him, and I think that we are going to see more of him. I don't know what to think yet. I know that the Joker's been over. I don't know if it's been overdone, but it's just so. It's overdone with Batman.
Yeah.
But they gave me enough to make me want to know, like, okay, I want to see what's there because you just gave me this sneak peek, and I want to see this Joker. I do.
We want more, man. And
I do want more.
Check out that deleted scene when you get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I follow a few artists online before I saw the deleted scene. And that's the thing about social media. Like, you try not to get spoilers, but you end up getting spoilers, especially when you follow certain artists.
Yeah, it might happen eventually. So
yeah. So before I had seen that deleted scene, I had seen a illustration of the Joker from without the the cell wall map, the wall and the shadows and all that. And God, am I gonna spoil anything for y'all if I talk about it?
I've seen stills. I haven't seen the actual deleted scene, but I've seen stills. And I'll let you go, but for me, I want them to change the Joker. I think the actor is fantastic. I want a different Joker. I want the Joker from The Killing Joke. I don't want another, dark. He can be dark, but I don't need another Heath Ledger Joker. I definitely don't want another Jared Leto Joker. And we need something that is. I would love to see a Joker like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker from The Joker, but also have that manic, crazy, burst out into laughing side. That is all I will say. I took your spotlight. I'm sorry, John, but yeah,
not at all. But yeah, I had seen an illustration of it, so it kind of spoiled it for the screen version. But he's got a scarred up face, and referencing what I had talked about him carving off his face earlier, I'm wondering if that's the direction they're taking for it, which I could see them going for like a kooky yet dark Joker in the future films, but I don't know enough in order to give a full sound opinion.
Same.
But looks wise, I'm engaged.
I'm there for
color me curious.
Yeah, no, there for the looks. I just want a different personality. I don't want another not edgy, because I don't think Jared Leto's Joker, that was being edgy. This isn't edgy, but I just want something different. Joker hasn't changed since The Dark Knight, in my opinion. Everyone has tried to portray the Heath Ledger type Joker, which in my opinion is the number one Joker that we've had on the big screen. I don't think anything is ever going to come. Nothing's going to top that. We're going to get stuff that is close. I hope that is Matt Reeves, but from what I saw, I think they're trying to emulate another Heath Ledger type Joker, which I want them to take it their own way.
I will say, since Mask of the Phantasm came out on the big screen, Mark Hamill is still my favorite on big screen Joker.
Mark Hamill kills it as a Joker.
He kills it as Joker. I think.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger was
the best live action. Yeah. But I think Mark Hamill might be the best Joker as a whole. So yeah,
two different categories, same tier. So no, that is a good point. Okay, so with that, the last question. Where do y'all rank this Batman with all the other Batman movies that you have seen?
Ooh. Oh, man, that's a tough one.
If you want, I can go first, because I was thinking about this all day, and I think I know where I would put this one on my Batman list.
Yeah, you go, since you have your thoughts formulated. I need a second on that one.
So, for me, The Batman is the second best Batman movie that I have, is the second best out of the entire Batman series that I have seen so far. I do think that this Batman film has the best version of Batman that has been on the big screen, and this goes right back to Heath Ledger. Nothing can top The Dark Knight, I think, when it comes to Batman and a villain in a single movie. I think Heath Ledger's Batman had such more weight as a villain in the fact that he knew how to get inside Batman's head. He knew what he was doing. I think the Riddler, although he might have known what he was doing, wasn't it didn't feel as foreboding as the Joker did in The Dark Knight. He was scary, but he wasn't foreboding. So to me, The Dark Knight, The Batman, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, then it's been a long time since I've seen Batman with George Clooney, Michael Keaton. No, George Clooney Batman was Batman Forever, right? Okay, no, that one's at the very bottom. That one is weird. So Batman, Val Kilmer, Michael Keaton, George Clooney.
Go ahead, Jared.
I think my top 3 is probably the same as Jason's. After that, I don't know. The Dark Knight, and then the Batman, and then Batman Begins. I get what Jason's saying. Heath Ledger gave the performance of a lifetime, and he got in Batman's head, like you said. He wanted that kind of confrontation. The Riddler is a totally different enemy, and you kind of talked about how there's the allusions to the Zodiac Killer. Like the Zodiac Killer, he wanted to. He didn't want to get caught, but he wanted to
be known
and proven that he was smarter than everybody else, and almost put it to where he could be caught, but just at the same time show like, you're so close, but I'm still smarter than you. And that's definitely the type of villain that the Riddler is. He believes that he is Batman's intellectual superior, where the Joker feels that he is Batman's adversary, equal, whatever. So there is a little bit of different relationship there. But I did think that this movie's my number 2 as well. I definitely think Dark Knight Rises, the Batman Begins. I'm not gonna lie. I liked Batfleck. I did.
Oh, I forgot about those. Whoops.
I wish, but none of those were a Batman movie.
They weren't. Yeah, they weren't really Batman.
And then it was Justice Leagues. I would have, even though there's been so many variations and we're like, oh, another Batman. They had already established him. I feel like he should have been given his shot for his own solo Batman movie. I would have liked to see that and see where it would have ranked up amongst things, but that didn't happen.
Funny enough,
my top 3 is the same as Jason's.
Yeah, funny enough though, when Ben Affleck was set to direct this movie, Matt Reeves, when he took over, actually liked the script that Ben Affleck was kind of cultivating. I think I didn't read much into it. I just found some of these facts off IMDb, but supposedly Batman's script or Ben Affleck's script was going to take place or have Arkham Asylum be kind of more of a focal point for this movie. But yeah.
Man. Yeah, now that you bring back Ben Affleck's Batman, I liked his portrayal. I did. And that also, whenever the Snyder Cut came out, the leaked script came out for the next 2 Justice League movies, and I fell in love with it. I was heartbroken that we'll probably never get it. But man, it was epic. I don't know, maybe someone will make an animated version one day. But I don't know if I had to rewatch a Batman film right now, it would be a tie between the Adam West version that you brought up now, because come on,
it's a classic.
Who doesn't love a good laugh? Yeah. The Dark Knight Rises and this Batman. I can say that much right now. Those are the ones that I would rewatch standalone.
Do
Batman
you mean
films.
The Dark Knight or the Bane one?
Dark Knight.
Okay. Jared, you said the same thing. Did you mean Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises?
Did I say Rises? I meant the Dark Knight.
Okay.
So yeah, mine is the Dark Knight, and then the Batman, and then Batman Begins.
Okay.
Man, I'll tell you what I would love is
Murphy
like
did a great job in Batman Begins. Sorry to interrupt.
All good.
I love him as an actor.
What I would love even more is just a mashup of like my favorite clips, because like I'd love the fight scene between Bane and Batman and those like
the sewers.
Those Oh yeah, the quotes you got out of that. I was like, oh, you think like it was so good. That and the plane scene at the very beginning.
That was a good action, like a good way to start a movie. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially if you saw it in theaters, you felt the reverb every time, like when he first comes up on screen. Yeah, that's what I would love. It's just like a mashup of all my favorite scenes. That'd be great. But for the ones I would rewatch, that's what I would do. And as cheesy as they were, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze. Yeah, I would definitely rewatch it just again for the laughing appeal. Maybe
Chris O'Donnell's Robin nipples and
the bat nipples and all stuff.
Molded plastic to improve your physique. What about the Bat 2C, huh?
Oh goodness.
I know I didn't answer your question, but that's the answer that you're getting.
Like I said, that's all good. Well, y'all, I think that was almost almost an hour shorter than the actual movie itself. So I think we did a fantastic job. Again, shoot, I was gonna say something, but I forgot what it was. But yeah,
monumental.
I'll sing the Batman theme just to get your brain going.
Batman. We're gonna get copyright. No, we're not. We're terrible singers. But thank y'all so much for doing this on a Monday night, no less. It's already pretty much 9:00. This was a fantastic conversation. So sorry that went over or that went as long as it did, but again, I love talking with y'all.
As always, if you've been watching this long, thank you. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Appreciates it.
Batman appreciates it. The Joker might appreciate it. Who knows? Riddler is already, thinking 2 steps ahead of you, so don't worry about him. But yeah, stay tuned for the next episode, y'all. And again, we are JCubed, and we hope you enjoy. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Good night. In this movie, I was wondering if Riddler was the first villain that he had encountered up until they showed the Joker. And then they bring in Arkham Prison. So I'm wondering if there's other villains there in Arkham Prison. We don't know who else Batman has encountered.
Mm-hmm.
On the talk of Arkham Prison, 2 things. They're doing, I don't know if y'all know this, they're doing an Arkham Prison TV show for HBO Max.
Ooh, I did not.
Originally, it was supposed to be a Gotham PD show, which they've already done Gotham, but then they shifted the narrative on that, and it's going to be focused around Arkham. Second, it blew my mind watching the movie, and I had to look this up afterwards because I couldn't find a lot of information. In the movie, they referenced Thomas Wayne and Martha Arkham. That is the first time that I have ever heard of her as an Arkham, and I could not find any information on that other than this movie. Has she always been an Arkham?
Ooh, I have no idea.
I've never looked into it.
I have no idea.
It'd
be pretty cool for this world.
Yeah, maybe it is like tied to this universe. Huh. I forgot about that, Jared. I think you were bringing that back up.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that was the first, and I've never thought about Martha Wayne's maiden name, but I've also never heard of her referred to as an Arkham.
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa, what? That was significant to me. I don't know what they're going to do, but the fact that they did introduce Arkham Prison as well, I don't know what else is there. They only gave us a little look at that.
I have a prediction.
All right, John, go on, because I know, man, you were getting worked up over there.
Yeah, you were biting your mic.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully I got that on the recording. I started recording again.
Yes. So I think it was during the bomb scene. He's like, you have no idea how deep this goes. I keep thinking, okay, you've got that scene, and I'm thinking it still goes deeper than what we saw, like the infrastructure of Gotham, which makes you think,
Court of Owls?
Maybe the Court of Owls. I'm still tied to maybe the Court of Owls are going to come into this. If they do, and if we do get a little bit of hush going in there, that's a reappearance of the Riddler trying to, expose Bruce. We get the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
We might get some Poison Ivy. I don't think we'll get Superman, but we'll get some Poison Ivy. I think also if you've got all this information popping up that the Riddler's been able to find, was he able to do it by himself? Did he have help from the Court of Owls? If so, and if we get that incorporation of Court of the Owls and Hush, maybe Bane will be the Talon that they're utilizing. He's got all the rejuvenating juice from the Lazarus Pit, or that Lazarus Pit that he needs. Who knows? Who knows how many things they'll tie in? You know, they can do whatever they want, literally. But how cool would that be if you got both the corporation of Hush,
Jared, what are you doing?
and Court of the Owls? Think about that, seriously.
I am thinking about it because I know before I even saw the movie, Robert Pattinson had talked about Court of Owls and how they would love to tie it in or something. And the biggest thing that I kept thinking about, having read Court of Owls, having seen this movie, one of the biggest story pieces of the Court of Owls was the fact that Dick was supposed to be the next Talon. And there's these Court of Owls, and a significant part in that comic is all of the Bat friends, Robin and Damian and Dick and Batgirl, and all of them are fighting these Talons. Obviously, that's not going to happen in this universe because it's safe to say they don't exist yet. This is a young Batman. So on that preface, I feel like, how are they going to do the Court of Owls? On the flip side of that, what was the Riddler trying to expose? The fact that society isn't what you see it. Everything is being pulled by strings behind the surface. What is the Court of Owls about? They have been pulling strings behind the surface for centuries. So if you look at it from that angle, I feel like the Court of Owls is a possibility. You would have to think it's a completely different storyline than the comic line, but the main points line up. And you're talking about what all did the Joker actually expose, John? And I'm like, yes. What if it does go deeper than Falcone and them orchestrating this bust and him putting people into power? What if it wasn't that? What if it was the Court of Owls pulling these strings in the background? Yes.
What if,
dude? That would be so cool. I could totally see them going that route with this arc, with this Batman as well. I think that is such a fantastic theory. We stopped recording the original, the official podcast. I'm throwing this into the edit as well. You heard it here first.
We didn't ask for an encore.
We didn't ask for an encore, but we got one because we still love talking about this. I think that would be such a cool idea if they could somehow, because also in the Court of Owls, the main dude that is trying to kill Batman before he kills him, wasn't he kept alive for a very, very long time?
A very long time.
Yes.
What if it's his dad? No, it won't be his dad.
So that could come into the, like, we could see that villain. And it would totally make sense because if they go that Court of Owls route, if that is where they take this theory.
What if it's Grundy?
Solomon Grundy?
No. Solomon Grundy.
That'd be weird.
Maybe not.
But as I was watching this movie, when the Riddler was in prison, when it was Paul Dano and not in the Riddler garb, and he was talking about Thomas Wayne having these promises for the city and the orphans and all of this, and how Thomas Wayne died and those promises went to shit like 10 days later. But I was getting feelings of that mayor candidate in Court of Owls, how he was an orphan who claimed to be Bruce's brother. And I almost expected Paul Dano's Riddler, who was an orphan, I was expecting him to be like, haven't you figured it out? I'm your brother, like in some Court of Owls twist, and that didn't happen. But I was like waiting for something like that. But when we talk about it like this, I feel like the Court of Owls, it's a possibility. Not the Court of Owls that we've known and have read, but a completely different
different take on.
Wow.
Dude, John, thank you for making us read the Court of Owls for our first Batman podcast episode. We have gone back to that in some way every time we talk about Batman as a whole. So that is because of you, John. Thank you.
My gift to you,
also,
the cube.
I have a request that it's for the edit. Can we all not in sync like do the dun na 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 Batman.
Yeah.
3 times, and then I'm gonna make that be the outro and fade out.
Done.
So I'll start.
Okay, wait. So we're going na 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 3 times.
So it's dun na 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 Batman. Then someone else goes dun na 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 Batman, and then the third person
I'll do
goes.
the last one.
Then Jared does that last one, but we do dun na 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 Batman, 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 and then we stop. So after the first Batman, Jared, you will go, and then after Jared's first Batman, John will go. I'll stop talking, or I'll stop singing at that point, and then when you're done with your third Batman, you stop, and then we'll end on John, and that is how we'll end the video. If y'all want to.
On how this goes still. I want to do it, but I'm still confused.
How about a practice run?
All right, so I'll go dun na 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 Batman, then you go dun na na na
na na na na na na Batman.
Okay, so
and then me.
Then you.
Batman. Then we all go Batman. Is that okay?
Yeah, we'll try it out.
So you do it, and then I do it, and then John does it.
Then we
and
all
then after John says Batman, we all go
Batman. And then if you want to do it one more, we can, and just do we'll figure it out.
Take.
Yeah, but I just want to. I think this would be a fun way to end it.
Yeah, no, I'm down for this.
Or I can. How about this? After the first dun na 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 Batman, Jared, you go. We'll figure it out. But yes, okay, ready? This is just a test run. This won't make the edit in any way, but
unless it's great.
Okay.
Okay, Jason's going first.
3.
Batman.
You want me to end on that?
Yes, that was it.
If you're happy, we're happy.
I like that.
That was just magical.
All right.